Hey guys, GameBoy3800 here. Once again, we're back in Beam for some more Game Boy Pack preview video things. Yay! We're starting off with a different truck than normal. Instead of Black Magic, we're starting off with Ford Super Duty with the 572 Ford because this engine has undergone a revamp. This engine is much beloved by quite a few people for its super high torque. Look at that. You got 1670 horsepower, that's impressive, but 1820 torque, that's really impressive. So this is one of the oldest engines in any of my packs, really. I think it is the oldest, aside from maybe the 500 cubic inch Gavril, or the 489 Barstow, I don't know. This could be the oldest. I forget. So, it was starting to look maybe a little bit dated. So, I have gone ahead and updated the model. The model should look sharper than ever. The edges should look better. The pulleys should look better. Everything like that should look better. I've also found and fixed some bugs where if you were driving this engine, for instance, in the Gravedigger custom chassis, it would actually have two engines spawned, like one on top of the other. You would be able to tell the difference, but they were right on top of each other, and it could have caused some big lag. So I have resolved that. I have also made the supercharger fully selectable. You can see now, instead of it just being like the injector hat when you hover over it, it is the supercharger, the pulleys, the belts, and the straps. Why is that? Well, if we go here, we have a new intake option for this engine. That's right. The crank drive blower from Specialized Add-ons has been moved over to fit the Ford 572. And take a look at that. Look at that power band, too. It's way different than normal. It builds its power linearly. So the more revs you can have, the more power you get. Look at that horsepower though, 1850 horsepower. We sacrificed some torque, but I think it's worth it. So that we can have ourselves quite the high horsepower setup here. I have also gone ahead and, made the engine more fuel efficient because it was just overheating way too easily before. And by increasing the burn efficiency, it runs cooler as well as uses a little bit less fuel. It's not insane, it's not like a Toyota Prius, but it's no longer going to be an active bomb. Give it up for the Ford Super Duty. We're going to stick with it for the rest of the video because it's a cool truck. And we're going to go to my other engine slots. If you go to your CRD chassis and go to your engines, you see I have two slots. I have engine mods and league engines. League engines are ones that are tuning restricted and have the option for other gearboxes as well. So let's see what we got here. This is the stock Ford engine. Everybody's familiar with this. But if we go to tuning, the supercharger can only be detuned. Like, we can't get more horsepower out of it. We have no nitrous, and we cannot adjust the RPMs. And that's how every engine in this pack is like. They're all balanced to 1500 horsepower. Some a little bit more, some a little bit less, but they're all balanced. And the big one here, you can see, is the 572 Ford. It has been added to the League engines. However, it is tuned vastly differently from either of the two previous setups we just saw, either supercharged or procharged. If we take a look at the intake, the only supercharger option we have is the procharger. So that means we have a linear power band. The more revs we get, the more power we get. We have the most horsepower, but it's built way differently. We don't jump off the line with 1540 horsepower. We got to build up to it. And it's also one of the less fuel-efficient engines that you can use for the League Series. I think it's matched with the Hemi for being inefficient. So, you know. You gotta drive it differently. You gotta watch the temperatures. I start with engine temperatures all the way down to give myself a little bit more run time. You can do that. But in a racing environment, that won't be an option. It simply gives another option for the League Series. You may have seen that term and be like, what the heck, why is that so bad at taking drifting turns? Well, the Pro Charger is built different. When we're at 6,000 RPM, we're only at 1,400 horsepower. So you gotta tune your gears, or your torque converter, if that's an option, to give you more RPM, so you can stay in that power band. So you will have to tune it differently. That's what I like about these engines. Each engine is different. And also about different engines, if we take a look, one of the other engines I've done before, the 632 Chevy Dart engine, this has also been added to the League engines, and you're like, what? That makes 2,000 horsepower. How could that possibly be in the League Series engine slot? Well, let's take a quick look. If we go here and go to the intake, oh, the only option is a naturally aspirated intake. So we have 1,500 horsepower, naturally aspirated. No replacement for displacement. 632 cubic inch Chevy does not need a supercharger or anything like that. It just gets around the corners with raw engine power. So this is purely done just to be different. It's kind of like the diesel engine, where that is obviously diesel and runs a turbo. This is so big, but you know, it's not needing to run any kind of fancy superchargers. It's just that powerful naturally. I have also gone ahead and reduced the vert count of like all of my engines significantly to improve MP performance. So this engine was like 300,000 verts, now it's down to 272,000. So I've cut the engine vert count in half, and it looks exactly the same. So, you know, that's always a good plus. And you may think with this engine, it's 632, how is it not overheating yet? Well, because it's not got a supercharger dragging it down and adding heat into the engine with pressurized air, it actually runs pretty cool. So despite its size, because it's not supercharged, it doesn't run that hot. And it doesn't use that much fuel either. Just won't have the ultimate low-end grunt that a supercharged engine would have, but as I'm proving right here, we don't need that. There is one thing with this, and that is that this engine does have a special gearbox. So if we go to the, I'm going to have to go through quite a couple of chassis slots here, so give me a moment. If we go to the 33 League chassis, or League-specific chassis that is locked down to these engines, we will find out that we are missing something. I'm still with the 632 Chevy there, because this customizable slot does have my engine mods in it, as well as the regulars. But if we go to standardized League chassis, we'll see, one, that we will not have this engine, because this engine has a special gearbox, so it can't get the manual with clutch specific option, so it'll throw us back down to the stock Ford. But let's take a look here. If we go to the engines, in the rear engine placement option, we do now have the 572 Ford that we just saw before. However, now it's fully ready to go with the manual with clutch gearbox. I have noticed a mistake in that it still has the regular supercharger. I will resolve that for the final release. Good thing I test here, and not just throw it onto the website without testing. I may have done that once or twice before in the past, so I'm not entirely free of blame. And all that extra whine and stuff you hear is actually the gearbox. Gearboxes make a sound, and it's unrealistic to not have them. It's also unrealistic to have an invincible gearbox, so that's why this is a manual clutch that can be damaged. So if you're off-lot driving, you can blow up the gearbox. That's going to be it for all the Monster Truck updates. We're going to next move on to some of the other mods I've done. If I go here, go to the T-Series, you see I have a bunch of presets here. Some of them not mine. I do have some other mods installed. But if we go to here, like the Super Hauler that I've shown off before, and go to its engines, I will have a new option for us. Looks like I do need to fix some textures. Those are pretty wonky looking. But regardless, let's take a quick look here. If I go to the engine, we have a new option. This is the Detroit Diesel 12V92. It's basically a bigger internals version of the 12V71. Instead of 14 liters, it is 18 liters, so get a little bit more power all around. So, more power, who doesn't like that? And it's another engine option for the T-Series. And with this much power, I have a turbo and a supercharger built onto this preset. We're able to turn this into quite the drift machine, even on the road. I love it. But a super important thing to note here is that all my non-CRD packs, so this means the more boost pack with the 6,000 horsepower bus and the bigger turbos for the stock game engines, the 454 TBI, which adds a big block Chevy engine to base game vehicles, and the 540 Gravels pack, which adds the Monster Truck Merlin engine to several vehicles, including the T-Series now, have all been moved into their own pack. This also includes some of the stuff I've shown off for specialized add-ons for the T-Series, including the long frame and the airplane engine. This was made to declutter specialized add-ons, just as I made specialized add-ons to declutter some of the other main mods. I'm going to do that the same, except for specialized add-ons. So, all the extra packs I've done on the website for other vehicles will be included in the base game add-ons pack. And I will end up deleting the old versions on the website and saying on the base mods add-ons page to delete those zips, and I'll specify exactly which zip names they are, so that it shouldn't be too confusing. I've gone through and updated a lot of the presets. In fact, I can go ahead and show you one right about here. So if I go to the diesel one here, just type in diesel, we'll get a bunch of trucks here. If we scroll down far enough to find the full-size things, here we have the Track Day Special Grand Marshal. I've done other Grand Marshal presets before, but now let's take a quick look at what we got here. It is the Grand Marshal, but with a new engine. I've added the stock game V8 diesel, 6 liter, to the Grand Marshal. I seem to have buggered up the textures something fierce on a number of mods, so I'll fix that eventually. But this is a twin-charged diesel. You can hear the turbo going. You can hear the supercharger going. Got 480 horsepower, 720 foot-pounds of torque, racing tires, roll cage, only one seat. It is weight reduced, and ready for the track. And there's quite a few other presets to show, but I'll leave that for you to discover once this pack is out and live. I love the turbo sounds. Let's go ahead and give you a full volume turbo so you can experience it in full. It is quite enjoyable. I love turbo sounds in this game. Supercharger and turbo sounds are pretty awesome. And I'm still not sure why some parts are now cheese, but I guess I'll have something to fix in the future. Anyways, that's going to do it for this update video. A merger of a lot of packs into one, so it's easier to find and use and stuff. As well as a remaster of the Ford 572, one of the oldest engines I've put in game. And it's now available for the League stuff. So, that's it for now. If you all enjoyed, you can leave a like, favorite, comment, share, and of course don't forget to subscribe as well. Thanks, Game Boy Out. I'll see you all in the future. Goodbye, everybody.